I also would like to welcome you, and this is a very interesting topic today. I will start by reading from Whispers from Eternity, Yogananda's Book of Answered and Prayer Demands. Tune us that we may hear thy voice. Volumes of thy Savior voice resound through the loudspeaker of every loving heart. The voice of thy wisdom roams through the ether of space, seeking everywhere hearts that are tuned to ecstasy. Sadly, thy warning sermons pass unheard by souls deafened with the static of sense pleasures. O divine broadcaster, tune our souls, long distracted by the static of our indifference. Fine-tune us with the delicate touch of soul perception. Grant us the privilege of hearing thy magic melodies in the ecstasy of divine awakening. Beautiful words. So, ego, friend, or foe? Well, ego is both, friend and foe. The ego is an integral part of who we are. As Master said, the medulla is where physically the ego in the body lies. And in the beginning, and the beginning being once we take on a human form, the ego is very important. It distinguishes us from animals and plants and rocks and everything else in the universe. We have an ego. We know that we exist. We know, I think I am, And so we know that we're here, and that ego, as we go through many incarnations, has to be evolved. It has to develop. We have to understand it. In the beginning, I remember Swami would give a talk, very wide-ranging, but a talk where he said it appears that people who are indigenous, not just indigenous, but who are very close to nature, the people that live that way, he said it appears they seem to be without ego. They're very attuned to what happens in nature, to listening, to flowing with that, being very aware. And we who live in the cities and live, with each other, are more socialized, we're not that aware. But as we evolve, those people also need to evolve their egos. And so they need to become more aware that they're not separate, that they are separate from nature. They have a particular form. And so as we take on many incarnations, that ego evolves, and it evolves in a lot of different ways. It's as we come to where we're no longer satisfied with just being an ego, then the ego flips to the other side, friend and then foe. Because the ego is also the very thing that blocks us from becoming one with the divine. So it's interesting, but all things are needed, and so the ego is there. And so it evolves, and Swami would talk to us, Swami Kriyananda, and he said the ego is very important in that we need to develop a healthy ego. In other words, we need as a person to feel good about ourselves. Hey, I feel good. I'm me. It's limiting, but it's okay. Because it's like when we talk about, you can't give something that you don't have. Well, a gift, if I don't have money, I can't give you a gift. But the ego is like that as well. At the point where we realize we want something more from life, we want to expand our awareness, we're seeking God maybe, or spirit, or something spiritual, then we have to begin to deal with the ego in a new way. Because the ego is there saying, well, wait a minute, what you're talking about now threatens my very existence. Because if I'm not me, then who am I? You know, and that's the very question that spiritual saints, sages, masters, who am I? That's the question. Who am I? And once you start asking that question, the ego becomes very defensive because the ego and the soul cannot live together at the same time. The soul, and the Mahabharata, the great scripture of India, captures this greatly. So the soul is our true nature. That's why we would ever come to the point where we would say, oh, gosh, I'd like to have something more from life. There is something more, and I should explore what that is. But the ego has its own reality, and it is not the soul. They don't go together. They've been living kind of in the same kingdom, as the Mahabharata would say, but every time the soul nature, those qualities represented by the warriors of the Pandavas and then the material warriors of the Kauravas, those Pandavas, they keep getting pushed aside. Every time they come to reclaim the kingdom after 12 years or after whatever, then they're blocked from doing that. They're sent out again, you know. And the material side, the side that is the ego, is saying, yeah, go away. I don't want you. I don't want you to be here, because as you come in more, I will need to diminish. I will diminish. And I don't want that to happen. So it's a very serious thing. In the Mahabharata, the ego is represented by Bhishma. And Bhishma is the grandfather. He's not only the grandfather, he's taught the warriors of all sides, material and soul, and he has ruled the kingdom in the stead of the true ruler. But still, he's a very powerful character and very powerful energy. And in the battle, everyone knows, protect Bhishma. Bhishma cannot die in this battle. And Bhishma, at a certain point, again, representing our ego, Bhishma is riddled with arrows. It's said that he lies on a bed of arrows, giving out deep wisdom, giving out deep thoughts. But he has the boon, good or bad boon, that he cannot die until he surrenders himself. And that's the story of the ego in us, is that the ego, people, when I first came on this path, I remember people saying, oh, we have to kill the ego, or other paths, you know, we have to kill the ego. And it's like, not possible. Doesn't work that way. Can't do it. The ego has to surrender itself. And we have to have a healthy ego in order to surrender that ego. And it's an interesting thing. I was thinking about this topic because you can come at it from a lot of different ways. Well, let's see now, we want to get serious now and we'll take care of the ego. And I'll read you a couple of things in a little bit here from this book, Sadhu Beware. By the way, if you're serious about diminishing the ego, dissolving the ego, buy this book and read it. It all has 33 techniques of ego transcendence, and they are very, very astute, and they're very kind. You'll see if you read them, and I'll read a few to you in a bit. But I was also thinking about, in a broader way, for people on this path, we've all been at this for a while, some for a few years, some for decades, some for incarnations. And so what's going on for us? And what's going on for us as a community? And online, there's community and groups, in other words. And I'll tell you an experience that I had that really I found fascinating and just thrillingly inspiring. And that is that in 2017, Shivani and the group in Ananda CC and with others decided that we should have a Kriyaban retreat, and it was called Intercontinental Kriyaban Retreat. In other words, Shivani, it's very large, but it was true. People were coming from America, people were coming from India, people were there in Europe, and Russia came. All these people came from all over. And I remember when I first heard about it, I thought, yeah, I guess we have to go. You know, it was a funny thing. I just wasn't really enthusiastic. And in my mind, your mind is interesting. In my mind, I thought, because we lived in Assisi, we know what it's like there, we visited there. It's a small area. And I thought, well, hundreds of people, and that's such a small space, and oh, it's going to be hot and crowded, and I'm not enthusiastic. I'll go. I know I need to go. I'll go, you know. But it was with that kind of thought in mind, which was really strange, but at any rate, there it was. I think it had to play out for me. Anyway, so we went. And we had just been to Assisi the year before. We hadn't been there in, I don't know, 17 years or something, and we went in 2016 to see our work there. So that was fun. We were there for a couple of weeks and just enjoyed being there and meeting old friends. But then the next year, this event happened. I thought, we're going back again? Wow. And so we did. And I have to say that intercontinental Kriyaban retreat was absolutely thrilling. And this is what I found there. So it's Kriyabans, people on our path. They've been practicing these teachings for a number of years. And anyway, everyone there was in that bhav, that feeling. And so as the week began and as it evolved, each of the classes were done by Kriyacharyas. Pranava and I did one, and others there. I mean, they were from all over. But each class, like there were maybe 2 to 4 people that did them. And I just thought, as it went on, there's so little ego not only in the people presenting, but in the people here. And, you know, it's like when you give a talk like what I'm doing here, the audience matters, you know, what they draw from you and that. And so I just thought, wow, this is really amazing. It was so inspiring. And each morning, not only that, it was really hot there. It was really hot. At 7 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock, it was 70 degrees and it was hot, hot 70 degrees. And so, but we were meditating together. And they had a new temple. It wasn't finished, so they put up a big pandal, a big tent over it, and we would go and meditate together. And then there'd be this class, and there's the meals and all of that. But Assisi, Ananda Assisi, they excel in taking care of large groups. That's the rhythm in Europe. So in July and August, they have hundreds of people that come every single year. So they know how to do it, in other words. They know how to have the meals, they're served regularly and on time, and the classes and everything. So all of that was flowing along very nicely. But what I was deeply inspired by was the people that came and the people that spoke both. And there was just this so little ego. And it was, then I thought, people have come from all over. I mean, there was a big group from Russia. They brought their own, Milo was their interpreter. There were a number of people from India, America, all over Europe. Assisi is a melting pot and a place where people meet. And so there they all were, and there had to be translations, quite a lot. So English is one, Italian, German, and then the Russians had their group, and like that. And then I thought, but it didn't feel like a Tower of Babel, you know, like blah, 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 blah. people were very respectful. They were, when they were translating, you could just kind of hear the murmuring. And I thought, you know, this is what world brotherhood feels like. This is what when world brotherhood happens, this is what it feels like. Because all these people were so harmonious together. We're just wonderful feeling and spending an entire week together. So it wasn't just a few days, it was an entire week. But the harmony, the compatibility, the energy, the uplifted energy was really amazing. And so that was kind of an introduction for me about, oh, look at this, look at what it feels like for all these people to be together. And then only 2 years later, we dedicated this temple in 2019, and we had the 50-year anniversary of Ananda's existence, 1969, 2019, 50 years. And we had 700 to 900 people here. And we filled the temple, I mean, much more than we have now. It was like, we probably had 700 people in here at one time. And again, the energy, the temple had just been completed. I mean, the day before, the day before, literally. We brought the chairs in, you know, things were set up, all of that. But again, the level of harmony and of upliftment and of cooperation, and that entire week, we had never had that many people on this property before, ever. And it went so smoothly, and everybody enjoyed themselves. It all just flowed. They were all devotees. And so I just thought, boy, you know, when you're practicing a spiritual path and the techniques, and you're living that, it works. That's what I'm trying to say here. It works. It's very, very special. And I'm not saying it just for us standing, you know, sitting here in this room. Online, people all over the world, this is what's happening. And the ego automatically has to start to diminish for that to happen. It's not an option. You don't have both. One woman, she was sitting right about over here when we had the 2019 dedication. She comes periodically, and she's a member in a way. But anyway, she said to me, I said, so, you enjoying it all? 'Cause I just walk around and greet people, and you know, it was fun to see everyone. And I said, so, are you enjoying it? She said, yes, and it's just so calm. And you know, she was used to going to other spiritual events that were much more rajasic, energized, and people chatting. And this was, it wasn't that people weren't doing that, but the energy around it was really just uplifted and wonderful. But for that to happen, the ego, you can't have a lot of egos together and have that happen. It has to be that is in process of diminishing. I wanted to read, as I mentioned, from Sadhu Beware, because to diminish the ego, we have to be serious about it. It is work, but it needs to happen in a context that is inspiring for us. In other words, it's work, I'm working on my ego, you know, you could get really serious about it, but it doesn't work that way, because we're not killing the ego, we're expanding the ego. We're dissolving, expanding, whatever words you want to use, but it's a much more elevated concept, and so it has to be done in an elevated way. So of the 33 things where techniques of ego transcendence, I wanted to read you a couple of them because of the way that Swami Kriyananda talks about it, and because it's so kind and heart expanding, Remember, the whole purpose of dissolving the ego, transcending the ego, is for inner freedom and connecting one with God. It's one with the divine. So it's for a much greater purpose than the ego can ever imagine and that we've ever experienced. The first one of the techniques that Swami mentions is very kind. It's really approachable. He says, so if you think you see something that you really would like to buy for yourself, buy it and then give it to someone else. Enjoy, in other words, buy it. Yeah, get it. Hold it, you've got it, and then give it away, And just, be aware. So there's a little intro, that one's easy. That one's easy. And then the second one gets a little more serious. When people fail to credit you for something you did and did well, they fail to credit you, say nothing. In your heart, however, give all the credit to God. So, you've done it really well. People don't even know. They don't say anything. Say nothing. But in your heart, and this is what he says a lot about these, in your heart, give all the credit to God. And then, when someone else gets the credit for something you've done, don't look for a way of letting people know where the credit really belongs. It would be natural enough for you to do that. You needn't even consider it a fault. Still, don't make too much of it. You will find much greater freedom in your heart if you mentally give all the credit to God. So again, he refers back again in your heart, because that's where we're going to start to feel inner freedom, is in the heart. I won't read more, but those are just little tidbits that I would highly recommend this book, Sadhu, Beware, because they're simple, life-affirming ways, things that we encounter all the time, that we can just say, having the last word. That becomes a habit. I've found that. You want to have well, you said that, but this, the last word, always. You want to say the last word always? Probably not a good idea. To hold and just say it to God, but don't say it out loud. But just take it seriously, because the ego is very tricky and it will not let go easily. We do have to take it carefully, and we do have to be very aware and not let the ego continue to do what? Keep us bound. Yeah. Can we find God with an ego? No. Not going to happen. Yeah, we really do. And it's all about expansion of awareness. So it is uplifting. And those events that I mentioned, the two, one in the 2017, the Kriyaban retreat, and the event that we had here, and in a couple of years, 2026, we'll have another very large event here. It'll be the 100-year anniversary of Swami Kriyananda's birth, and we're inviting people from everywhere to come here. So that'll be another time, but be aware of that, both in yourself, but also in the group as well. Ananda was created over 50 years ago, and there's a power here. I was thinking of that too, and I'll close with this, that there's a power here. In one of the songs it says the power is still in the land. Well, it's here as well. So many devotees, disciples, Kriyabans, all of that have been here for a long time and have continued that vibration. It's easier when you have a group. And for online, the online community is also a really good way to gather together with other people of like mind so that you're not feeling like, am I really weird about not saying anything about the fact that I did that and did it well? No, it's okay. It's going to get you there. It will get you to this, to expansion of consciousness and to inner freedom in your heart. Every time we buy into the ego, and again, it's a wily little character, every time we buy into it, the heart goes down. The heart is closed more. Every time we are able to let go and expand, then the heart can also expand. And so have fun with it and really understand that your sadhana as an individual helps everybody. Yeah, everybody. Online, here, everybody. Because those vibrations are a support to doing the very thing that we've been looking for eons and for many, many incarnations.
Life is a dream, time like a stream, carries our burdens away. Never despair, joys everywhere, love can befriend you today. Free from all care, like birds on the air, soar above griefs and worries, seek joy and be gay. Often on earth, things of great worth, worldly ambitions defy. Stand up from life's cares to the sky. Love is a star, though shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. Often on earth, things of great worth, worldly ambitions defy. Sometimes a friend helps us to stand up from life's cares to the sky. Love is a star, though shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw